Welcome to Soto Creations, where we make your imagination a reality. Now today, I am so excited. I know I say that a lot, but I have that bubbly excitement that you feel in your gut today because we are finally decorating for the graduation party that I talked to you about in the neon sign video. If you didn't see how I make the neon sign, I'll have that video linked down below. But I'm excited because we've been planning this for months. It has been an absolute pleasure working with this customer because she booked in advance. This was in January. Now we're in May. So we've had enough time to plan and get everything squared away. And her theme is absolutely beautiful. We're going with an elegant, chic theme. And last of all, last and best to me, is she said she trusts our design process. And for most of it, she gave us the free plan or free will to design what we like, because she said she has seen our work and she trusts our judgment. So I am so excited. I'm parked in front of, I don't know if you'll be able to see it. It's a dance studio, and the party is going to be for 150 people. This is the biggest event I've had so far, and I'm so grateful she's trusting us with this process. And we'll get in. I'll see if it's not too busy. I can show you the inside, but I might have already recorded, and I'll show you how it's all set up before we get everything done. We're going to start with the balloon backdrop. That's the biggest thing for the party, but we're setting up tables. I have this van full of all my stuff I need. I went to check to make sure that all the tables were loaded in the big truck, and I have a lot of help today. They're going to drive that truck to bring this over to me and help me set up the tables while I work on the balloons. This time I don't have the balloons inflated because I have enough time to get everything set up, plus I have help, thankfully. So I'll continue to record as I set up the balloons. But first, I'm going to show you the hall that we'll set up for the balloons so you can see how I transform this space into an elegant, chic party. Thank you so much for watching. If this is your first time tuning in, click that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our videos. I post every week, so stay tuned every Tuesday for the videos. And if you're a returning subscriber, I truly appreciate you. Like, comment down below your favorite part of the video, and of course post some ideas of things you want to see, and we'll work on that as well. So let's get this party decorated. So here's the door, the entrance, and that's the studio. On the left here, at this place, I'm gonna set up her picture with balloons right here, and then you have some tables right here that we're gonna set up, and on the right we'll put tables here as well. My goal is to have tables all on the carpeted area, and we'll do right here have some more tables so that the rest of this space will be the dance floor. Now, initially I was gonna do the balloons against the mirror there, but I decided to put it against that wall right there. Camera is trying to focus, so I'm gonna spin around to show you this part. So from here, looking at the door, it's a beautiful hall, kind of cute. So I'll have tables right there, and then I'll have more tables right here. sorry you're so far away. I'm getting another extension cord so I can bring you closer, but I figured I would start because we're just inflating balloons. But I'm gonna get you closer so you can see all the balloons I'm working with, and then I'll just be inflating. So our colors are white, silver, and a touch of pink. So I have 5-inch white in Qualitex, 11-inch Qualitex, and 16-inch Qualitex. And then we have 5-inch Qualitex in silver, and you have the reflex silver 11-inch. I have 2 bags because we're gonna inflate a lot of the 11 inches, 18-inch reflex silver, and 24-inch. All these are Ballytex except for the Qualitex balloon. And here we have the pink 5-inch, 11-inch, and 16-inch. Also, I forgot to show you, I set up the backdrop. I'm not sure how wide this is, but it is 7 feet tall. So I'm probably gonna move them closer together. The only reason I'm using this backdrop or this metal stand, it's a pipe and drape stand, but the only reason I'm using it, it's a drape stand, sorry. The only reason I'm using it is because I need to hang my neon sign, and I plan to hang it on the left side, not in the middle, because most people stand in the middle to take pictures, and I still want them to be able to see the sign over here.
I have all the balloons inflated that I think would be enough. You'll find out that I'll inflate more in the future. But what I'm doing here is intertwining two of the clusters together. Now, I don't recommend doing this. I only do this with the first one. Then I realize it's better to tie one cluster to another. So I tie. After I do that, I realize they're so tight together, they're not going to form a column. That technique is perfect if you're making a balloon garland and just clustering everything together. But since we're trying to build a balloon wall, you want to make sure that you're building columns of balloons so that you can straighten them out and everything is nice and straight once you're designing everything. So my thought process is that I'll create the first column that would give me my template to make all my other columns. So I'm just building on, and as you've probably noticed, I'm a little distracted, and I apologize for that, because even though the video is about the balloon wall, I also am setting up the whole hall for this event. And so they're asking me several questions about the hall and what we should do about this and that. So I'm talking constantly to my husband, to everyone else who is helping me out in this hall today. So here I am building my first column and just trying to make sure that everything is nice and straight. Initially, I had a plan drawn out of how I wanted the design, but when I started building, I decided to put that aside and just go with the flow of how everything looked. So as you can see, I have my first column completed, and I'm checking the height to make sure that it actually covers the top of that the top of that crossbar that's going around. Now I'm grabbing some 260Q balloons that will help me attach that balloon column to the backdrop. I did not have to use this backdrop. Like I said, I just needed to attach my neon sign. So you see, I paused there to look at the diagram that I drew for this inspiration. So I attach one to the bottom, one to the middle, and one to the very top. Now this is going to allow me to tie that first column on, but I don't tie it at first because I'm using that as my template to be able to make all of my other columns. So I lay that on the floor, and I'm going to build onto my next balloon garland. You can see I'm glancing at the image I drew out to see what design I'm going with, and eventually I stop looking at it. I just decide to follow my heart. I decide to do this voiceover so I can actually explain my technique, and you'll be able to put one together yourself, because I know some of these can be challenging, especially, or intimidating, trying to put everything together. But hopefully this helps you assemble. Now, the part of the video not recorded, my camera died at some point and I didn't realize it. And luckily it was just the part where I add my 5-inch balloons and I tie my neon sign onto everything. So I do apologize for that, but I have other videos that explain, and I'll tell you kind of how you add those 5-inch balloons. So I've worked on my second column. I'm on to my third column of balloons, and you can see there are a ton of balloons that go into this. I actually used up all the balloons I had for the silver, and I changed thoughts later on in the design process for the garland that you'll see coming up. So here I am building on, talking, planning. Again, if this was just about the balloon column, we would not be in this hall as long as we were, but we were here most of the day trying to set up, and it was a huge learning process, especially being the first event that I've done this big. So we're just building on, adding onto it. You saw me twist that balloon on, and that's what I meant. If you had intertwined the balloons, it would be harder to adjust them. So I'm tying on my first column. I know I'm gonna need more balloons, but I want to gauge how everything looks with these up onto the stand. So I'm tying them using that 260Q to just twist around the balloon and tie it back onto that pole, as you can see. And that first one is on. What I'm doing next is getting another 260, attaching to that first column so I can put the second column on. I did that on the top as well. Now I'm using some fishing line to tie on so I can attach my neon sign. I'm doing this now because once I put the balloons on, I won't have access to that pole anymore. So this is easier for me, and I'm making it long enough that I'll move it over the balloon, so when it's time to tie on the neon sign, it'll be easy to just grab, and I can always cut if it's too long. I have my second column. I'm pulling onto that 260Q and wrapping it around the second column and onto the first to tie both of them together. Coming back to the second, wrapping it around and just making sure everything is nice and tight. You've seen my play at home with balloons where they're not as secure, and I always say if it's for an event, I make sure I double tie, double twist, double knot so everything is in place, and this is what I'm doing right here. I grab some 260, some fishing line, and I'm using the fishing line to just tie everything together, try to make it as tight as I can. It's not going to be perfectly tight, but that's okay because we're going to add our 5-inch balloons to fill all the holes and also add some flowers to fill all the holes. I'm making adjustments on the balloons, twisting them around and bringing my fishing line around. So you just go between one garland to another. Here is my third column coming up. At this point, those two columns are starting to grow towards you, and we don't want that. But as we build on, you'll notice that it straightens itself out, and you can see I'm making more silver and white and just adding a touch of pink. So I'm tying my third column from the top, wrapping that around and making sure that everything stays tight together. So once I wrap that fishing line, I'm trying to hunt the fishing line that I'm going to use to attach the neon sign. So once I have that to the front and out of the way, then I'm going to continue to attach the third column onto the second. So I'm wrapping everything around. I just realized the chair was in your way, sorry. So I'm wrapping that around, and I'm gonna bring the fishing line up because my fishing line ended at the bottom when I was doing the first and the second column. So here I am bringing it up to from the second coming back up to the third. I hope that makes sense, but you just wrap from one balloon from the first column, twist it onto the balloon on the next column that you're attaching. So all that is zipped together. When I watch it, it looks like I'm just zipping two columns together, and I'll show you again. This time I have fishing line tied at the top instead of a Q60 balloon, and as you can see, you wrap on the last balloon, pull it, wrap it around the next one, come back to the previous column and wrap it, and it's just zipping everything together. So you're going back and forth from one column to the next, and just like I said, you're zipping it all. I realize I don't have a long enough column, and I'm going to attach more of the silver. When you're doing this, you just play with the design and look at the images. You can kind of cross colors together and make sure you're clustering just to give it that look. And some people like a look that's even, so they'll do one color, the next, and alternate, and you have an exact even balloon wall. But I decided to just mix it around and just make it fun. So You can always do whichever design you like or whichever design your customer wants. I had free design thought or freelance on this one, so I just made it as nice as I would. My husband's being silly, so here I am making my 5th column and doing the same technique. This column is just pink and white, so I attach the fishing line at the top, and I'm speeding up a little more because I'm figuring at this point you get the technique. You'll see it zip, go to the left, come back to the right, move back to the left, and twist to the right, twist on the left, and you're just zigzagging your way all the way down till you have the 2 columns attached. And you continue to do that till you have all your columns all attached. I lost count of balloons, but I know initially I had quite a few inflated, and I'll see if I can link how many total I used. But here we go. The neon sign is attached, the 5-inch balloons are attached, and I'm putting in the flowers. With the 5-inch balloons, you can make 3 together, you can attach 6, you can do 12 balloons clusters. As you can see at the bottom that I did, I have a bunch of 5-inch balloons where the silver is. I use tape to cover up my flowers so they don't pop the balloons, and the stems are long enough that I don't have to tape the flower onto the balloon itself. I'm just wrapping it around and just inserting them in to where nobody sees that blue tape and it doesn't show at all. So I just slide everything in and put it where nothing shows and it's nice and tight. I also use some of the balloons to squeeze onto the flower. Now we are working on this garland that's going to go along this stand. I'm out of 11-inch silver balloons, so what I decide to do is do a pink and white garland with an accent of 5-inch balloons, and it turned out very beautiful. So many people loved this design and thought it was gorgeous. I tie my 260s at the top and the bottom to give myself something to tie this cluster onto. Now, it's a little tricky with how the garland turns out because it's gonna end up going behind the picture. So I'm just attaching all my balloons together, pulling one neck from one cluster and tying it to the neck of another cluster, and I'm working my way to build this long enough that it'll wrap around from the top down to the foot of that easel. So I'm inflating more balloons to add to the length, and once all that is done and I know I have the right length, then I start wrapping that 260 around. You see the 2 pink balloons are together, and I end up adjusting those because see, you just want it to be alternated at the top, but then I have clusters of same colors. But I just thought I would point out that little touch in the design. Now I'm trying to fill up the base, extend to make sure everything wraps around nicely. I'm making adjustments with the picture and the balloon to make sure it's even and it looks presentable. At this point, I try to move the garland, and I realize if I move the garland, it's going to push the picture over. So I'm adding balloons to fill up the side so you still see the picture, but then you can see the nice balloon cluster, the cluster of balloons just coming around. So I'm filling everything up at the bottom and eventually filling the side. So see, that just adds such a touch. I have that hole right there where I was just putting my hand. So I decide to make one last cluster to just add on, and you'll see how it fills it up and just makes it look like everything is coming from the top and wrapping around. Now I'm adding my 5-inch balloons with some rubber bands, and there you have the final design coming together. And now we're going to add some flowers to finish everything up, and it turns out beautiful. This time I'm not adding clusters of flowers, I'm adding individual flowers because it's a smaller garland and I think it just adds that special touch. I'm testing my design by carrying it across the hall and it doesn't fall apart, so we win there. Now, while I was doing all this, my husband, his cousin, they were helping set up the tables and the chairs and the tablecloths, and just I cannot thank them enough. So grateful for the help, just that willingness and going above and beyond to make my first huge event a success. So as we go around putting everything together, my husband is busy ironing all the tablecloths. That's my daddy. Came to the rescue with a quick Target run for a smaller tablecloth for that special table that we made for this customer's friends who are deceased. She wanted to honor them and have their presence in the hall, so we got that. We're setting up the charges as we iron the tablecloths. I'm finishing up putting all the napkins on the table, and I'm so grateful I added this last touch of napkins. It wasn't part of the design, but in my head I had imagined as our theme for Sodo Creation, making your imagination a reality. When I talked to her and I imagined how the hall would look, I knew it would not look right without a touch of pink, and I wanted something that was raised. Even though the fans were working against me and knocking some over, and managed. That's the table we did for her friends to honor them, and you can see that pink touch with the napkins just adds that elegance, that chicness to the room. And I think we did a good job. Let me know how we did down below, if we fulfilled the chic and elegant look that she wanted. But I'm so grateful. If this is your first time, please subscribe. We have videos out every Tuesday, and I'm so excited to put out more content for YouTube and expand this business. Thank you so much for watching, and I truly appreciate each and every one of you.